Hello and welcome to Summoner Spam. I'm Joseph, and to start things off on this channel, we're going to have a small talk about analytical tools, specifically the male gaze and gender performativity. These theories are tools that game journalists use, specifically when reviewing or analyzing a character or game. Now, since the male gaze theory is more widely used as an analytical tool, we'll start off with talking about it and why I find it to be unfortunate. The male gaze theory is a concept created by feminist film critic Laura Mulvey in 1975. It refers to the way visual arts are built around a masculine perspective. It describes the tendency in visual cultures to depict the world, and subsequently women, from a masculine point of view and on men's terms. The male gaze occurs when the camera puts the audience into the position of a heterosexual man. For example, instances where the camera lingers over the curves of a woman's body indicates that the camera has become the viewpoint of a straight male, and that the subject, the woman in this case, has become an erotic object for the viewing pleasure of the presumed straight male. The male gaze denies women their human identity and relegates them to the status of object to be admired. As a result, the heterosexual man becomes the dominant power within the fantasy of the medium. Male gaze theory is used to also determine how an author/developer perceives how an audience will receive a character, but there is no way for the author to guarantee that that perception is correct. The problem with using this as an analytical tool is that it renders certain behaviors as prohibitive or wrong. The moment a character appears remotely sexual or well endowed, they are immediately relegated to the status of object, despite a character's sexual attitude or appearance being valid within the context of the game's story or artistic style. There is also an inherent hypocrisy in using the male gaze theory as an analytical tool, as it encourages one to ignore context and focus only on appearance. By using this as an analytical tool, you have to face the issue of sexually objectifying these characters yourself and becoming no better than the single subset of the audience that the male gaze theory is built around, an audience which is quite often demonized as predatory or misogynist. In the end, the male gaze is next to useless as an analytical tool because it makes the collective audience responsible for a decision that A, none of them made, and B, it is impossible for them to share a perspective on, in that whereas one person may find a character's appearance attractive or empowering, another may find it objectifying. It may be useful as a red flag to general sexist trends in mass media, but it is powerless to tell us anything about specific characters or works, or to approve or disapprove of someone's choice in media consumption. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about gender performativity. Gender performativity is a term created by feminist philosopher Judith Butler. Butler characterizes gender as the effect of reiterated acting, in that one produces the effect of a static or normal gender, while obscuring the contradiction and the instability of a single person's gender act. Gender performativity means that what matters is how we are displaying our gender, and that how we act determines it. Our gender is displayed to others dependent upon how we present ourselves, either through speech, clothing choices, and various mannerisms. We act and walk and speak in ways that give an impression of being a man, woman, or something else entirely. According to some, this method of viewing gender offers a new way to move beyond the theories of gaze and sexual fetishism. It offers new ways to consider images as enactments with embodied subjects rather than as inanimate objects for men's viewing pleasure. As an analytical tool, gender performativity allows us to consider more than just the presumed gaze of one subset of the audience. It encourages us to look at the context to understand why a character presents themselves in one way or another. As an example, it encourages us to ask why Bayonetta presents herself as a sexual being, instead of just assuming that, based upon her looks, she's nothing more than a sexual object to be looked at by a presumed male heterosexual audience. As a whole, gender performativity allows the views of those outside of the male heterosexual audience to matter. In short, gender performativity says that what matters is what you do, while the male gaze theory says that what matters is how others look at you. One of these two is clearly more philosophically and psychologically healthy. Now, with all that said and done, what are your thoughts on these two concepts as analytical tools in gaming journalism? Leave a comment down below to let me know. Thank you for watching the first episode of Summoner Spam. With this out of the way, we're going to start diving into the main reason this channel was made in the first place: video game characters. First up is the most badass witch in the Trinity of Realities, Bayonetta. If you liked the caricatures depicted in this video, head on over to DeviantArt to check out Adara Colander, better known as Canius, by clicking right over here or down in the video description.